Do you have a family member that's a klutz? I mean, I'm talking a klutz. I'm talking if he's in the same house as you and he's in the other room, he'll find a way to trip over your feet. Do you have a relative like that? A brother like that? A sister like that? Because I happen to have a brother like that. Now, I don't know if he's still like that, but definitely when we were younger, he was like that. One day, we were out, like all Gen X kids, get kicked out of the house, and we weren't allowed to come back in until dinner time, lunchtime, or nighttime, when the lights come back on. And we lived way out in the country, and so my brothers decided to build a tree fort. Now, one brother stayed on the ground, and two of them went up. And if you guessed the one that was a klutz went up, you'd be right. So the one on the ground would tie up the boards or nails or screws or whatever was going up there, tie that onto a rope, and the brothers up top would start pulling whatever up to the top of the tree, right? Now everything was going good, quote unquote. Here, you can't even see me in the camera. Quote unquote, going good, right? And, all of a sudden, somebody says from way up in the tree, says, "Heads up!" And, you might be thinking, well, when somebody yells heads up, that means get out of the way, run. But my brother on the ground, he was more of, I'll just duck, right? Now this board comes flying down like a missile, okay, at 52,000 miles an hour, and it hits right next to him. I mean, right next to him. And it was all laughter and jokes, and everybody was, ha, 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 so funny, so funny, so funny. Now, I knew better to be so close to the tree, but of course, my brother on the ground, he was helping, so he had to be underneath the tree to a certain extent. Okay? So he ties another board on there or whatever, and, it goes up in the tree and working another few minutes or whatever, and all of a sudden you hear, "Heads up!" So, you would think that my brother on the ground would realize his previous mistake by almost getting clubbed in the head with a board, that he would run away. You would be wrong. He ducked again and didn't move. And what comes out of the tree but something very important? A hammer. And guess where it stuck? Into his head. Just like this, right? It's in his head. My brother's come down out of the tree and pop it out of his head. Get it out of his head. Now, the brother on the ground that had the hammer in his head, he has blonde hair. Or at least he had blonde hair when we were that age. And his head was not blonde no more. It was red. He went from blonde to red really quickly. He runs up to the house, and you would think that seeing big old holes in the top of my brother's head, that the first thing that they would do is run him to the hospital. You'd be wrong, because you know what? Gen X, don't forget Gen X kids. Gen X kids, oh no. No. You suck it up, Buttercup. Rub a little dirt on it. That'll fix it. So he gets bandaged up and he comes back down to the tree fort, and everybody's laughing again and having a good old time, and boards are going up the rope and all of that. And pretty soon you hear, "Heads up!" Now, if you think that my brother that was on the ground would run at that point, you would be wrong. He ducked again, and what falls and sticks into his head again is that same hammer. Boom. Right into his head. Brothers come back down out of the tree, pull it back out of there, and he takes off again, runs back up to the house. And at this point, do you think that my parents took him to the hospital? You would think wrong, because they didn't. They put a bandage on his head again and bandaged him up after having two, same hammer, twice from the same brother dropped into his head. So after a little bit, he comes back down, and this time, my dad caught on to what was going on and knew there was a problem. Why he didn't think so in the first place, I have no clue. I never asked him. But this time when my brother came down, he had a motorcycle helmet on. Guess what didn't stick into his head the next time it got dropped? If you guessed hammer, you'd be right. Safety first, I guess, is the moral of this story. If you got a clumsy brother that's going to work above your head, put a motorcycle helmet on, because that'll help protect you. So, until next time.